Hey there, I'm Nick, and in this video we're going to go through some basic functionalities of eFront to see how we can make the most out of it. The first part we're going to cover is going to be about handling and managing as well as organizing your user types. In eFront, all the users come by default in one of three basic user types. You can have administrators, instructors, and learners. The learners are the people who are going to take and complete the courses. The instructors are the responsible people for creating the content as well as managing the users through the courses. And the administrators take care of eFront as a platform, and they manage the users as well as have access to the totality of the reporting. In case you want to create a custom user type, all you have to do is click at the user types here. You will see all the user types that are available to your platform. If you want to add a new one, you can just click on Add User Type. You can give it a name, and then you can decide it's going to be based on which of the three archetypes that you have available in the system. In our case, let's say we want something based on the administrator, and once we have this ready, we can check all the different permissions available for the administrator and apply exactly what we want to this new role. I have created already a custom user type. Now, for this specific portal, I'm calling this a marketing manager. And as you see, it is quite a bit more varied than the standard administrator. Of course, you can go back to it and manage it and change it and update it to however you want. And all that is left to do is going to any of your already existing users, and you can very easily edit them and give them the role based on the new user type that you have created. So I have Giovanna here, for example, and I can see her user type. Very easily, I can click on this and create her as a new marketing manager. This means she's going to receive all the new responsibilities based on the new user type that I have created. Branches is a core feature of eFront. You can use branches when you want to separate your users into unique self-contained training environments. So how does this work? If we click here on branches, we're going to see that I have a lot of branches already created. But first off, the most easy way to understand how best to work with branches is to consider branches like having a mini eFront account under your main account. Each branch can have their own settings, their own look and feel, their own users, and dedicate courses just for them. If you have the business need for it, you can also create sub-branches, essentially branches nested within branches. At the beginning, a thing that is always recommended in order to keep track very easily of your different branches is to have a look at the organization chart. Now, since we have created a lot of branches in this portal, we can just click on the organization chart and I can see a very easy preview of my branches. Up here at the top is my main portal, so this is where I'm sitting as an administrator, and this is the first layer of my branches. I could expand Australia, and as you see, I have a lot of people in here. You might notice that some people are in bold. The reason for that being a user that is in bold lettering is essentially an administrator. They have elevated permissions, but their permissions are within the specific branch that they're in. Now I'm still within Australia, I'm seeing the list of my people, and as you see, I have more branches. So remember, you can have branches within branches. I have customer service, I could expand onto this, email and phone support, I could click to expand on that as well, and I can see the people in phone support. So in short, the organization chart is a very handy way for you to see the structure of your branches, exactly which branch is under which, and this way you can manage them very easily and always keep track of them. If you want to create a new branch, just click on Add Branch. And the system here, of course, requires for you to give a name to your branch, and then you have to decide its parent branch. When we're talking about the parent branch, essentially we're deciding where we're going to place the branch we just created in the hierarchy of branches that we have in eFront. If I leave it empty, it's going to be directly below the level that I am. Since I'm at the top level, it's going to be one level below me. However, I could click and create this under Australia or any of the child branches of Australia as well. You just click on Add and the branch is added. Once you have created your branch, you have the ability to add users to it. And you see the list here, I have already added some users into this branch. And of course, you can click on no to make a yes and just assign a user to the branch if you want. Please keep in mind that you can add a user only to one branch. So I cannot have a user that exists in two branches in the same time. And this is the same regardless of the user type. After you set up your users, naturally you want to add courses and curricula into your branch. Again, you see the list of all available courses and curricula that you have, and you have the ability to click on no to make it a yes, and then you can add a curricula or a course into the catalog of that specific branch. A thing to keep in mind here as well, when you add a course or a curriculum to a branch, this does not mean that the users of the branch are getting enrolled to the course or curriculum. It's basically you defining the course catalog of what we have available for them. So essentially we're creating a catalog of course curricula that they can select from at their own leisure. You have access to the settings of the branch as well. You have some key options. For example, you can set up the language or the theme of the branch. And of course, you have the abilities to set up LDAP SML if you're using SSO solutions, which is going to apply only to that branch exclusively. Groups is the tool of eFront that allows you to associate many common courses to a lot of people. As we said before when we're talking about branches, when you associate courses with a branch, you do not enroll people to these courses. To do that, you would need a group. So a group is the tool that you use when you have a lot of common courses and you want a lot of your learners to have access and be enrolled to these courses. You can create a group by clicking on Add Group. You have to give it a name and a description as well. Now, once the group is created, you have the ability to add users to it, and then you can add courses and curricula that you want to give to these specific users. Something to remember here is that the group does not work like a branch. In the branch, a user can only be in one branch at any time. However, a user can be in multiple groups in the same time. So feel free to experiment and create as many groups as you want in order to mix and match your users to different sets of courses. Now, once you have your group ready, you have added your courses and you have added your curricula, and of course you added your users. The easiest way to make sure that the users are registered is just to click here, Enroll Members to Courses, and this will automatically enroll all of the users of the group to all of the courses that you have associated with it. The same thing applies to curricula. You just click Enroll Members to Curriculums, click OK, and then all of the users that were associated with a specific group are going to pick up all of the courses and all of the curricula given to them. If we go back here, which is essentially the settings that you see the first time when you create the group, you're going to see that there is the ability to give it a name and a description, but we also have some advanced settings. The one I would like to focus here is first off the ability, click to set branch ownership. This is extremely useful because you might want to create a group within a specific branch. And there's two ways to do that. Either you can do it from here and click and pretty much set up this group to be under one of your branches, or as an alternative, you could impersonate an admin from within that specific branch and have them create the group, which would create the group at their specific location. Another option that is very common with groups is the ability to set a group as the default system group. What does this do? If I check this, and you see in many different options in eFront, you're going to see that when you mouse over, the system is going to have a little pop-up that is going to give you more information about it. So essentially, a default system group means that when a new user is added to eFront, then that user is automatically added to this group. If it is a default group, you don't need to do anything. And in addition to that, they also get enrolled to all the courses and curricula this specific group had. this is a very handy ability to use if you have a set of courses that are common for onboarding, and you want all of your new hires, for example, to get these courses, and this could be, compliance or cybersecurity or HR related courses. So if you have a set of courses like that need to be taken by every person once they sign up to eFront, just make sure you bundle them up into a group. And of course, you could do this with Curricula or individual courses, and then make sure you click the default system group. And once a new user is added to eFront, then automatically they're going to pick up all of these courses and be added to the group without you needing to micromanage it. Notifications are automated emails that the system is going to send out to your learners or maybe to your instructors and your admins when a specific condition triggers. As you see, when you click to the notifications, you do have a lot of notifications available from eFront. So actually we do have 39 available notifications, which are going to cover all of your needs. If for any reason there is a notification that you feel like you do not want to have, you can very easily click on the toggle button and you see it is deactivated. And pretty much this means that this notification is not going to fire off. Also, by clicking on the little pencil, you can edit the notification to make it exactly what you want to be. So what things can we affect in the notification? Well, let's look at the specific one. So this one is upon certificate expiration. So essentially, this is tied to having a course with a certificate, and that certificate has an expiration date. So when that certificate expires, then this notification is going to fire off. The first thing we want to determine is who is going to receive this notification. So we're talking about our recipients. Maybe we want to send it to our learners, so the end user, but also maybe I want to inform the instructors of the course. So I can select these as well. Here, we can also determine the time that this notification is going to be sent out. So let me clear this and let's see what options we have. Remember, this notification goes out when a certificate expires. So maybe we want to do it the exact moment the certificate expires, but maybe we want to be a bit proactive as well. So maybe I want to send this out 2 days before it does expire and maybe a week as well before it expires, just to keep my learners in the loop. So since I picked more than one abilities here, then what is going to happen when this is going to fire off, I'm going to receive, let's say I was a learner and I had a certificate about to expire, I would receive 3 automatic emails from the system. One a week before, then one 2 days before it expires, and one at the actual moment that the certificate would expire. Of course, seeing as a notification is an automatic email, it should have a header, a subject for the email, as well as a body. So here you can actually create your subject for the email, and you can create the body of the email as well. Now, you might notice that within here, there are specific phrases that are, for example, within these squiggly brackets, right? So I have here the recipient first name or the course name. These are called smart tags, and these are dynamic. Essentially, since this is going to go at any point in time to a learner that has a certificate expiring, obviously I cannot create one for each of these learners, right? So what I want to do instead, I'm going to use these smart tags. So you see here, and the way to do it is very easy. I can just, let's say I was here and I wanted to add it. You see I have my cursor, and I'm going to look at the bottom, and probably I want the recipient's first name. So I'm just going to click on that here. It is added by the system dynamically, and this ensures that it's going to look in my eFront database and always give out the correct information. So this way you can customize the title as well as the body of the actual email to be sure that it's going to contain exactly what you want it to. You also have the ability here, since this is the advanced editor, to add images or videos, or to attach, for example, external links if that is what you want to do. And you can always have your code view, which you can edit to make sure that your notification feels exactly the way you want to. But I hear you ask, there is another notification at the bottom. Why is that? Well, if we look here, this is for the end user, whereas this one is for others. This is not something that necessarily exists in every notification, but a lot of them has this feature. And this stems from us creating recipients that are the end user and other people. In our case, it was the instructors of the course. And if you think about it, we want to use different wording when an end user, a learner, is having a certificate that expires, to let them know what is the case and urge them maybe to revisit the course and enroll again and retake it, as opposed to informing the instructor that, a specific user has their certificate expiring soon and they will need to retake the course. So since we're using different wording, we have the ability to customize two different emails. The first one is going to go to the end user. The second one is going to go to everybody else. So my instructors, my administrator team, whichever I select. I can use different wording, and the same idea applies here, where I can pick my different smart tags and create it as I want. If I'm ready, I can save it and I can customize my notification here. In case you're using a multi-language setup for eFront, you will notice here that I have English as required, and this is because in my portal, English is the required language. However, if you're having essentially users that use different languages, you can click on that. And let's say I had users in French, I could click on that and swap it to French. And now I could see what the notification is going to be for the French people, which means I could change the wording. So if I had a learner that had selected French as their language, they're going to receive the notification in French. Let's talk about reporting. Reports in eFront is a very handy feature, and actually they're very comprehensive. You can get reports about whatever you want. So you can get reports about your system overall, so the training progress in your eFront platform in its totality, reports about users, about courses, curricula, tests, surveys, learning paths, pretty much whatever you need. So let's start off with the system report. The system report is a report that focuses generally on eFront, and if you wanted just a really big report, you see here it has all of my users, all of my courses, then I could just click on export, and very easily I could have this report downloaded in an Excel format for me. Or if I want, I could click on the little arrow and schedule this to be sent at specific time and dates. What I've seen a lot of successful people that work with eFront do though, is that maybe they want to customize this report just a bit. And you can do this by applying filters. So if I just click on filter, you have the ability just to use a single user here, or maybe you want a report that is just for the learners, and maybe I want the learners who are in my continuous education group and in the new hires group. Now, if I put more than one arguments here, these are alternatives, which means that it's going to give me every learner who is either in the continuous education group or in the new hires group, or in both of them. I can add more than one if I want. Also, let's say I want this to apply to all the people in the Australia branch, which I can just pick away here. But because Australia has sub-branches as well, if I want to include this, I can check the box to include sub-branches, and very easily this will be included as well. I can just click on submit, and now I have my filter ready, and you see it actually found 4 people. And as you see, my filter is up here, so learners in either continuous education or new hires group, which belong to Australia and any of their sub-branches. If this is a filter that I'm going to use often, I can click on save and give it a name, and then it's going to appear in my list here. And you see I have already saved some different filters. The cool thing with that is that you can save different filters and reuse them when you want some more specific information, but these filters come along with you. So if, for example, I say I want information about my users, you'll see the system will still apply the same filter from before. And if I want something about courses, the system will try to apply the filter, but now it removed the users part of it where I specified that I just want learners. The reason for that is, of course, that the course report does not have a learner in it because it's about a course. So it kept the rest that could apply to a course, and it just removed the part that wasn't necessary. But if I go back to the users again, you see it's still here. Again, you can apply a different filter if you want. A feature in the users report that is very powerful, and you see here I have all of the users that showed up, is the ability to take mass actions. So right now, with the filters that I created, eFront found for me 4 learners. Let's say I wanted for this specific 4 learners to take actions. Then you can use mass actions, and you can register them to a course, remove them to a course, enroll and unenroll them from a curriculum or a learning path, or maybe add and remove them to a different group, send them maybe a message, activate, deactivate, and archive, which means delete these accounts. So a nice filter will give you the ability not only to see results that are targeted at those that you want, but also you have the ability to take mass actions just on these people. So a very, very easy way for you to manage and handle your users. My favorite feature from reporting when it comes to eFront are the custom reports. And as you see here, I have already one in place, but probably you want to create your own, so you can click on create. You want to give it a name, so let's call this next report. And here you determine the output information. The output information is essentially what information I want to see for the users that are going to show up in this report. So let's say that for these specific users, I want to see their name and maybe the surname. And I also want to see which group they're in. And here you see I can pick their progress on specific courses, or maybe I want to see their progress in specific curricula. But for me in this case, I just want to see their overall. So I'm going to go into aggregate, and I want to see the amount of courses they've been assigned and also the amount of courses that they have completed. So this is quite a lot of information already. Of course, you could add your own if you want to. Once you have this set, then you start adding your rules. Right now, I don't have any rules, so the system looks at all my users and it tells me that it has found 213 users. Let's narrow this down. So I want to add a rule and pick people that exist to a branch. And you see very easily you can pick that, and let's say I want all the people who are in Australia, and I want to include some branches as well. And now the system tells me it found 46 people. Like we did with the filter before, you can add a second value here, so maybe I want franchisees as well. And remember, if you add more than one value in here, these are OR statements, so it's going to pick whoever is in Australia and the sub-branches and whoever is in franchisees and their sub-branches. You see it now found 111 people. Let's add more rules. So let's say that I also want the people who belong to a specific group. Also, if you want, you can do negatives. So do not belong to a branch, do not belong to a group. But in our case, let's just pick people that belong to a group. And I want people in the continuous education, in my Arabic and French speaking, my new hires, and my senior management. And you see again up here on the top where I have the verbose telling of what my actual rules do, I can see exactly how this works and how many people the system has found. Let's be more specific. I also want people that are enrolled to a specific course. Which one? Well, I have a course for eFront. So I can pick it from here. And now you see it found 13 specific people. Can I add more rules? Absolutely. So let's say here I also want people that, and by the way you can search, you see you have a lot of rules, you can scroll through them. But if you want something specific, what you could do, just hit backspace and now you're ready to type. So I can just type log. And I actually want people that are not logged in the last, for example, 3 months. Now, all of these arguments here are by default set up as AND arguments, which means they have to be valid. If I want to any of these, I can just click on OR and I'm going to make it an alternative. So keep in mind you can create exactly how you want this custom report. Let's say we're ready now. I can click on save. And here's my report. Remember, these are real time. And I see the information exactly for the people as I specified. So I wanted their first name and their surname. And I wanted to see the total of assigned courses they had and how many they have completed, as well as the group that they are a part of. So I see this information. And of course, I have the ability to export this in Excel or CSV format, whatever works for me. If I go back to my custom groups, you'll see my report is here. At any point, I can click on it and it's going to run again and find the people that meet this criteria. The really cool thing with a custom report is that you have the ability, let me edit this, to schedule it. So if I go all the way down, you see scheduled export. So let's say that this is a report I actually like, but I want to share with other members of the team. I can tell the system that I want the export to be scheduled. So I say yes here. And then I want to determine when I'm going to send this out. So let's click on the little calendar and let's say I want this to be sent next Monday. I can determine the time as well. This is on my time zone. So for my time zone, let's say it was 9 in the morning. And once this is done, you get to pick the frequency that this is going to repeat. Let's say that I want this to be repeated every 1 week. So I'm going to click on weeks and then change this to 1. What does this mean? This report is going now to be sent out next Monday at 9 o'clock my time. And after that, every Monday, it's going to be repeated at 9 o'clock. And here are the recipients. Of course, since I created this, it's going to have me as a recipient. But if I wanted to share this with different members of my team, I could just click here, add their different emails after that, and they would receive it as well. 2 extra things in regards to recipients. Number 1, if you add more than 1 recipients, they're all going to be BCC'd, which means they do not see who else receives the report, so your data is kept safe. And the second thing, you do not need an account in eFront for the people who are recipients. I've seen a lot of successful partners with eFront who basically use this system to send a report maybe to their financial or to their accounting team who just want to have a specific training overview from time to time, but they're not really as involved with the training to be added to the platform all the time. So they could just put their corporate emails in here. Even though they don't have an account, they would actually be receiving the scheduled export. Now that we have covered the basics of managing and grouping up our users, let's talk about courses. And of course, when we're talking about courses, the best place to start is by looking at what happens when you create a new course. So let's click on the courses here. You're going to see that these are all the courses I have created. I have, of course, more lines because I have a lot more courses created. And you might notice this course is red. Why is this so? Because it is inactive. But for the moment, we want to create a new course, so I'll just click on Add Course. Here, you want to have the thumbnail of your course, and you must naturally give it a name. And if you want, you can select and put it under one of the categories that you have created. The type is extremely important when you create a course. And your course can either be an e-learning course or it can be a blended learning course. What's the difference? If your course has the more traditional material of videos, PDFs, tests, presentations, maybe SCORM files, then you want to create an e-learning course. If your course is going to contain blended learning, so essentially if your course is going to contain a webinar as a part of a course, maybe a meeting or a physical training, in a meeting room, or maybe in an amphitheater, then you want to select blended learning. So blended learning is when you have a course that is going to combine traditional material with training sessions that are either in person or through one of the tools that you have available. And e-learning is a course that just contains the more traditional learning material. You get to give your course a description as well. And if I click on the advanced settings, there's a lot of specific things you can do within your course. As you see here, you can add a course code if you want to distinguish between courses. You can put tags if you want to even further differentiate your courses or organize them based on their tags. And I really want to talk about the course options in here. The first one is called active. Now, most courses probably you want them to be active. So when do we actually deactivate a course? In most cases, a course is going to be inactive in one of two ways. Either when you create it or when you want to sundown it. When you want to create a course, maybe the course is quite big and it will take you quite a lot of time to create it. If that is the case, do you really want your learners to have access and go into the course, even by accident, when it's not completed and see it? Probably not. So you can have the course inactive, work with it, create it in peace, and when you are ready to share it with your learners, then you can click on active and the course is going to be available. The other option is if you have a course that has served this purpose and you don't need it anymore. Obviously, you could just delete the course. It would be just fine. But what if, instead of deleting the course, you wanted to be able to keep the course for essentially historical reporting? In that case, you would deactivate it. Your learners, again, do not have access to the course because it is inactive, but all their progress will show up on the reporting for the course, which pretty much means your course is ready for you to still get the reporting, but as far as your learners are concerned, it is not available. So active or inactive is a very handy feature here. If you want, you can enable discussions on the course. And here is another very powerful option, show on catalog. Now, by default, this is going to be checked, and most probably you want most of your courses to show up on your course catalog. What does this practically mean though? Well, if we have a course that is going to show up on the course catalog, it basically means that the learners can go into the course and self-enroll. Because remember, there is a couple of ways that I could, as an admin or as an instructor, enroll my learners into the courses. But if I have given them access to the courses through the catalog, maybe they find something they're interested in, they can just click at the course, look at it, and if they're interested, they can self-enroll and get started with it. So if I uncheck here, show on catalog, basically this course becomes hidden from the course catalog. And what happens when the course becomes hidden? My learners cannot find this course by themselves. So essentially, I don't allow to my learners to self-register on this specific course. A very common example where you might want to do this has to do with courses that are aimed at just a part of your audience and not everybody. For example, let's say I have a course that is, or maybe a set of courses that are aimed towards my managers. I can give them the courses, but do I really want my learners to have access to these courses? Probably not. So what I would do is I would uncheck show on catalog and these courses are hidden from my learners. And then I could probably create a group for my managers and then add these specific hidden courses to the group, click like we showed before on the button to enroll the people in the group to the courses, and now my managers in the managers group will be registered and will be able to participate and complete these courses. My learners would not be able to see them. Also powerful is the ability to automatically assign a course to the new user. If you have a course and you have new users in the platform, you can actually check this, and this means that when a new user is added, they will automatically pick up this course and be enrolled to it. Very useful if you have specific courses that are part of onboarding and you want all of your new people, once they're added to eFront, to be able to pick them up. It is very common also to have a course that has availability which is on a fixed time frame. So let's say that for whichever reason this course is going to be available exclusively for the month of October. So it's going to be available, and I click on the little calendar here, October 1st, and I could set up the time as well. So maybe I want this to be 7 in the morning. And it's going to expire again on the little calendar, the last day of October, so October 31st. And maybe here I want to have it late, so my late shift people, my night shift can actually have time to complete it, 11:55. So what does this mean? It means that I can create the course, set it up, have it ready, and even enroll people in it, but they will see it as locked in front of them. When will the course unlock? The date and time I have set it up. So when this date and time comes, the users that I have already enrolled in the course will be able to start working on it because it will unlock for them. When the expiration date and time comes, what happens to the course? Here's where I pick what happens to the course upon expiration. I can either lock the course for everybody, or I could keep access to everybody, or I could lock access to the course only for the people that did not complete it. So in that case, if you did, let's say, your due diligence and completed the course within the whole month that you had available to complete it, you will keep access to the course even past the expiration date. Maybe it's a reference material, for example. But if you did not do what you were supposed to, you are locked out of it. Please remember that you don't need to have both a start and an end date. If you only wanted, for example, to have an expiration date on the course, no problem, you can just do that. Or if you just wanted the starting date, again, no worries, you can just do the start date. So if you want something like that, we'll use one of the two or none, whatever you want and works for you. There is another feature when it comes to availability, and it is this one, available for. This is very helpful if you have courses that do not have a start and end date that are set in stone. Instead, they have a start and end date that are flexible. The most common use case for that is if you have courses that are aimed at new hires. So if I have new hires, maybe they all need to take this course, but they will need to take it within the first, let's say, 7 days of them signing up. So I could, instead of having to go in here and change the start and end date every time, because let's say I have a lot of new hires, I can just say here that the course is available for 7 days. This counts 7 days from the moment a learner is enrolled to the course, not when they started, when they are enrolled, and of course these are calendar days. So this way, a course is going to be available to everybody for 7 calendar days from when they are registered. So if I have a new hire tomorrow and I enroll them to the course, they have 7 days starting tomorrow. If I have a new hire in 7 months and I give them the course, then that course will expire 7 days from when I enroll them in that date into the future. So everybody has the same time to complete it, but instead of having a fixed start and end date, as you would have if you set it up here, you have a relative one based to when a person was enrolled in the course. Another thing down here has to do with dependencies. Dependencies essentially allows you to create little chain of courses where the one depends upon the completion of the other to unlock. So for example, I have this course here, and let's say that this course depended in my eFront course. Well, what does this mean? This means that I could give this course here when it's ready together with the eFront course and give both of them to my learners through a group, for example, or standalone, and they would be forced to complete the eFront course before this one. If they didn't complete the eFront course first, then this one would remain locked until they completed the eFront one. So it's a very easy way for you to create, let's say, a chain of courses that the one depends upon the previous one, to build these dependencies within courses if you want people to take them into a specific order. Down here is where I set a certificate for my course. Probably not all of the courses that you're going to create are going to be important enough to warrant a certificate, and that's fine. You can leave that empty if you don't want. In case you want to give a certificate to the course, you can click and select from your list of certificates and associate with the course the one that you want. In most courses also you want the certificate to last forever, but I know there's a modern trend in learning where you have rolling courses. Essentially, you have a course that your learners have to take, and then they have to take it again next year, and then they have to take it again the year after that. So if you have a repeatable course, maybe it's every 6 months, maybe it's annually, maybe it's biannual, you can set it up through the certificate. So I could say that this is an annual course and needs to be repeated annually. So my certificate is going to be this one, but it's going to have a set duration of 1 year. So I'm going to pick years, 1 year. So this means you get a certificate now, it's going to be good for a year. Now, what happens when the certificate expires? The learners have to retake the course. You can have eFront take care of that for you. I could click here on reassign, and I can set up when I want this to be. So maybe I want to be a bit proactive, not exactly when the certificate expires. You know, maybe I want to give them a week. So 7 days before the certificate expires, I have checked reassign, so the system will automatically remove the learner from the course, reset their progress back to 0, and then enroll them again into the course. And they would have to complete it again. This means that if you updated in the meantime the course with new material, they would have to take the most updated version of the course available. Of course, once they completed the whole content a second time, they would be issued with a new certificate. You can decide if you want to renew their already existing certificate or if you want to issue a completely new one. That's absolutely up to you. Another important part of the course, besides actually having the course in place, is the ability to add contents to it. So I already have a course in place, and you say this is about Windows 10, and this is my thumbnail, this is the actual description of the course. You can go in here and add content. Now there's a lot of different content that you could add: tests, surveys, assignments. Maybe you want to add a unit which could be something from our advanced editor, or maybe you would want to add a URL and embed maybe a video file from the internet or embed a Wikipedia page, or maybe you have a video or a SCORM file created by yourself that you want to add. You can just upload that as well. What I want to show you though is the ability to work with Talentcraft. So you can click here, add content, and you can pick a Talentcraft unit. Just before you do that, I want to show you how to enable Talentcraft. So the way to do this is by going back home as an admin, clicking on System Settings, and now I'm looking at my integrations. I have Talentcraft, and I can click here, Enable Talentcraft, and it's going to be enabled. So once I have that enabled, again, you could use that in a new course, or here we're going to use it in the Windows 10 course. You can click on Add Content, and you can add the Talentcraft unit. Talentcraft works by using AI in order to help you create content which has a more modern look. There's different types of content that you could add with Talentcraft. You could use a template if you wanted, for example, to have a course that is about maybe something specific. So let's say I wanted to create something for onboarding, I could pick that. And as you see, it's going to create for me something good to start with. But of course, I could go in here and actually edit it, make it my own. So it's a good starting point for me to be able to work with it. Now, maybe this is something I want to do, but I want to show you something a bit more advanced. So I'll go back to the course, and you see here's the unit created by Talentcraft. I can delete that if I don't want it. And I want instead to add a different type of Talentcraft unit. I want to generate with AI. So you see now I have an empty page, and the system waits for me to give it a prompt. And let's say the prompt, since we're talking about AI anyway, I will ask the system to tell me about the importance of AI in the modern workplace. And I can just hit enter or click start creating. And now Talentcraft is going to start creating the page for me. Talentcraft talks with OpenAI, which you might know from ChatGPT. So it is pulling different resources and it tries to create a page for me. Keep in mind that the prompts you give can be specific. Don't be shy of using a more general prompt, but generally, the more specific your prompt is, the better results you're going to get. So it has already created it for me. And as you see, I already have a title, I have a text. And as you see, I can actually go in here and change the text whatsoever. So if I didn't want this word, I could just delete it or change it to whatever I want, or I could make it bold. You have a lot of options, right? Or maybe I like this, but I want it to be bigger, so I could just select that, click on the AI button and tell the system, hey, I want you to make this longer, and it would rewrite it to make it longer. Or I could do this in this sentence only, so I could just go here, hit enter, just to set it like this. And maybe I want to pick it, click on AI again and tell it to change the tone for me. So you have a lot of options here pretty much. Also, in terms of the look of this is a paragraph with a header. If I want this changed, I can click and I can pick of the different types that are available for me for text. You have the little arrow as well. If you want to navigate it somewhere else, you can absolutely do that. So I do have an image. I want to bring the image on the top. So I'll click up and it will go in the first place. And now this is going to go to the second place. And you see the system created already an image for me here as well, which, like the text, here on the left you have the options. So I could just have it centered. Or I could have it, full width, or I could have image with text. To the left or to the right, or text in image, which I always prefer. Could pick this. And there. And now I have this in here, so I don't actually need to have a title. And I can swap that into just a simple paragraph. And here is where you have the image. Of course, you have the ability to pretty much change the images to whatever you want, right? So I have this right now, but I could always change it to something else. And there's a lot of different images available for you. So let's say I'll go here, and as you see, here's the image. Well, I can select a different one. There are images in the library of Talentcraft already that you can use, or you can go into my library and upload any of your own images that you want to use. Or you can go to the AI images here, and I can see all the images the AI has created for me in previous prompts, or give it a new prompt to create more images for me, or even go to something like Unsplash, for example, a stock site, and I can use a stock image from there. And it's also going to give credit to the person that took the image if that is the case. If my image is not centered like that, and I just had it full width, you see I have the ability to just reposition it whenever I want. Can apply that, and maybe I want it to be, again, text on image. So what else can Talentcraft create for me? Here you see it created a quote, which again, I could have, for example, instead of quote, I could have it as a motivation, which would change the way it looks. So again, you can control it fully. And as you see, it created some flashcards for me as well, which you can have in a grid format, or I always like stack more because the images look bigger. And this has the image and you just flip it over. It actually has text, you see? And of course here you can change the text, you can change the images, it looks super modern. So you're going to see here I have a little quiz, which is multiple choice, or I can pick match the pairs or fill the gaps, whatever works. And again, this is fully editable, right? I can change the question, I can change the answers, delete them, add feedback. And this was created based on the information that the AI has already given me within the course. If I wanted at any point to make a question myself, I could just select the text that I want, AI, and basically tell the AI to create a question for me, you see? Create a question. So absolutely, again, you could create questions in here. It has created a little process, a little flow for me. So you see, integrating AI into the workplace, and I have different options as well. Again, you can change pretty much whatever you want here. And he created here, the system has created a carousel for me of different information that I could use. And here's where the course is stopped. If you want though, you have all the little buttons, the toolbar at the bottom, and you can add different things. You could add a chart, you could upload, for example, a video. You can either pick something from YouTube or Vimeo or upload something of your own, whatever you want. You could add a picture that has, for example, markers. So I could click here and say this is a road. And when people mouse over it, they're going to see what information I have given. So you have a lot of control on how it's going to appear. If you want to double check how this looks on different devices, the little eye icon here, and it's going to start me off with how it looks on a computer. But for example, if I have somebody who's used a tablet and that is the portrait view, and I can see how this looks, or maybe they're having landscape view, again I can see how it looks here. Same if they're using a phone. So if you actually want to see how your course looks in different formats, in different devices, you can do that. Let's say I'm happy with what I've created, can just click on publish, and it's going to be ready. So right now this has gone out, it's a part of my course, you can actually see it here. Last thing you have to do with Talentcraft is to remember to rename it. So right now you see this is called Talentcraft unit. I could just click on edit mode, and now I could call it the benefits of AI in the workplace. And I'm good to go. I can click on edit again, and now this is ready and set up. Now that we know all about creating courses, let's see what other options we have in terms of creating more complex relationships with courses for our learners. A very powerful feature in eFront is the curriculum. So I can click here on Curricula, and you see I already have some curricula in place. But what is a curriculum? When we're talking about curriculums, essentially, we're talking about a collection of courses that usually, but not necessarily, needs to a certificate. As you see here, you could create a new curriculum. Like a course, you can give it an image, right, a thumbnail, give it a name, put it under a category, give it a description. And in the advanced settings, you have some that were available in the courses as well. It can be active, it can be automatically assigned to new users, and you can choose if it will show up on the catalog for the learners or if it's going to be hidden. Also, you can give it a certificate if you feel like it. Once a curriculum is set up, probably you want to go in here and add courses to it. And if I click on courses, you will see available courses. And let's say I wanted to add this one, I can just click, and now this is added to the curriculum. You have the little option here with the toggle button to click on that and actually make it optional. So it's not mandatory for your learners to take it. And you have the ability to set up the order of the courses within the curriculum. So you see I have the courses here. Well, if for example I want the advanced sales to be right after basic sales, could just drag and drop it and it would show up here. The order here is the order in which the courses within the curriculum show up for my learners. It is not something that forces my users to take these courses into a specific order. So keep that in mind. This is how the courses appear within the curricula. But if my learner wants, well, they can start from here, for example. If you followed along from the beginning when we're doing this section, we covered courses. You remember that a course has a setting in the advanced settings that talks about course dependencies, where you can build a little chain of courses where the one might depend on the completion of a previous one. If that is the case, so let's say here, for example, that Sales Advanced depends on Sales Basics, what would happen is this would have to be respected within the confines of the curriculum, which means that my learners might want to start with Sales Advanced, but they could not. They would have to do Sales Basics first, and then they would be able to do Sales Advanced. And they don't even need to be the one after the other. Sales Advanced could be down here, and still this would apply. So now that we know how courses and curricula work, what about learning paths? Learning paths is a more advanced way to combine your courses into different, more complex setups in order to be able to give them to your learners in a way that makes sense to you. Keep in mind that completing a learning path does not give a certificate to the learner upon completion. So if you want a learning path that's going to award a certificate, maybe it's a good idea to have the last course in the learning path be the one that is going to provide the certificate to the learners. So if I want to make a new learning path, I can click here and new. Of course, I have to add an image to it, a thumbnail essentially, and I have to give it a name. Then I want to add a description, and if I want, I can put it under one specific category. Now, the learning paths consist of blocks, and you can have as many blocks as you want. And the easiest way to describe blocks could be, for example, semesters in the college or the university, right? So this one is going to be my first semester. And I can give it a description as well if I want. Also here you have the ability to set a milestone for your block. And if you leave it to none, you don't have a milestone, but if you want, you can set a specific date, or you can set so many days from enrollment. These are the equivalent of the expiration that we had on a course. If a course is available until a specific date, the same here, you can put a date by which the block has to be completed, and so many days from enrollment. Then you get to pick if this specific block are going to have courses that are set up in a free or a sequential order. What's the difference? Right now, first off, it is on free. If I wanted sequential, I have to toggle it. So let's talk about free first, since it's the default option. Essentially, free is like having a mini curriculum within your learning path. So you get to add a new course level, and in here you want to add courses. So I'm going to add my eFront course. I'm going to add my Windows course. And I also want to add my remote work course. And maybe one of my sales courses. There. So now this contains 4 courses. It works pretty much as a curriculum in the sense that a learner, in order to complete this specific block, they have to complete all of the courses in here. In which order? In whichever order they want. They're going to appear in the order I set them up, exactly like a curriculum, but my learner can take these in whatever order they want. Unless, of course, I have built a course dependency, in which case if I had said that remote working only needs Windows 10 Essentials completion, it's mandatory to unlock it, then they would have to respect that just within these 2 courses. So essentially this is when you have a free block. But let's add a different block here. And this is going to be my second semester. And again, of course, I can give it a different description. I can put a milestone as well. But this time we're going to make this sequential. The sequential one allows you, as you see, to create more levels. So you don't only have one level in the sequential, you have more levels. And it is in the name sequential. My learners have to complete the levels in the order that I do set them up. So this is the first level. So maybe here I want my Windows course. Maybe here I want my eFront course. But I do have 2 eFront courses, so I want to add both of them. And also here I want to add, for example, my Google AdWords course. And maybe here I want to add my sales course, sales basics, and add one more, and this is my sales advanced, and maybe a marketing one. Now, since this is a sequential block, we said that the learners have to go basically level by level by level by level, exactly in the order that you place them. So let's say they start here. This is the course they see. They need to complete Windows 10 Essentials. They move to the next one. Now here, I have given them 2 courses. Which one do they have to do? Whichever of these 2. So this is not mandatory. They can do either the one or the other, or both if they really want. But as far as I'm concerned, I want them to do whichever of these 2. Once they do, the next level is going to unlock. This level has only have one course, so they will have to do this one in order to continue. They move to the next one, this has one, they will only have to do this one. They move to the next one, this has two. Again, for them to continue, they can do only one of the two. I leave it up to them to pick which one, or maybe both if they want. And of course, you can keep adding blocks here to your learning path in order to set it up as complex as you want. When you're done and ready with your learning path and you save it, you can go into it and you can look at your users and you can just add different users to your learning path, pretty straightforward.